Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yes!
Look at you.
Where do you even have this in New York? This is a deeply Southern soda you've got here. This is what our first kiss tastes like. This is the greatest thing.
The first week of school, I noticed Erin. I noticed Erin before she noticed me. The school was Jones County Junior College. So for a year and a half, I admired this girl from afar because she carried herself very differently than the rest of the girls at the school. She had this short pixie-style haircut, and she wore loose-fitting jeans and tight T-shirts, and I was really into it.
I would see him sit with the person eating alone in the student union, always. And I was the one that ate alone in elementary school, and that, like, sticks with you. Like, I didn't have friends when I was really young, and I wished that I had had him. Freshman year, move-out day. We were both at McDonald's. And my best friend and I, who roomed together, both had a crush on Ben.
But I knew the best friend, but I didn't know Erin. And so I saw them sitting there, and this was my opportunity. And I say, hey, Kristen, how are you? Did you get, everything moved out of your dorm? And she starts, like, yeah, we're all good. Have you met my roommate, Erin? And I said, no, I have not. My name's Ben Napier. And Erin says,
I know. There's a guy that I work with who reminds me of you. I had a crush on this guy that I worked with because he looked like Ben Napier.
I said, well, he must be a really good-looking guy. And she went with, I guess. And I was like,
what was I supposed to say?
You could have
like,
said,
he is good
I love you
because
so
he looks
much
like
and
you.
I want to marry you and have your babies. You could have
it's
gone with
everything that I was thinking. And we could have really just sped all this up.
So then I'm running for Mr. JC, which is like, a popularity contest. I saw Erin and I said, hey, you're going to vote for me, right? And she said, I voted for you in this like very flirty way. I voted for you.
I flirted correctly for the first time.
And it felt like, not like the door was open, but like it was unlocked.
He was always the president of every group. He was on every page of the yearbook. I was the design editor. We were going to do a feature story on the most interesting people on campus. And everyone in the yearbook staff raised hands and were like, Ben Napier's got to be one of them. And I said, well, I'll be there for the photo shoot. And we had our one-arm side hug that looked kind of like this.
And I said, 2 arms, please. And so
And he smelled so good.
6 days later, I told her that I was in love with her.
We were together nonstop from the one-arm side hug.
Yeah, like
getting to know each other. We revisit the week that we met. It's a super important part of keeping our marriage happy, I think, is always remembering
the way we felt. Day 1 is called 2 Arms Day. Day 2 is called Goulet Day.
Because he dressed up like Robert Goulet for this photo shoot. Day 3
was called Sports Rock Day. That was the name of the club, was Sports Rock.
The first date
was a terrible club.
One of those clubs where they just play really, really loud
dance and rap music.
But neither of us drank.
When I was in high school, a friend of mine got a DUI, and so I was terrified of my friends getting DUIs or worse. And so it was like every weekend, like, hey, we're going out tonight. Like, all right, where are we going? And I'll drive. And so I asked her, I said, hey, I've got to do this thing tonight. Do you want to go with me? And she was like, I'm not a club type. And I said, I'm not either, but I've got to drive my friends. I don't drink. You don't drink.
Let's keep each other company.
We could keep each other company. And the only way I could talk to her and her hear me is I would pull her in and I would talk into her ear.
And I was so happy.
It was so electric. Like those moments, that touch. Oh, gosh.
I thought I would die. I was so happy.
Day 4 is called Christmas
party.
Lights. We went looking at Christmas lights because it was December. Day 5.
And that's when he and my dad sat on the couch and watched the History Channel, and I thought, this is not going to go good. This is not going to be good. And it went so good. And then the day 6 was I had to work again all day, and we went to the car wash, and then we sat in my car in his driveway and talked all night. And said,
I'm in love with you.
I said, I think I'm in love with you too.
And I said, I'm going to marry you one day.
Yep.
I asked my mom one time, I was a little kid when I asked her this, and I said, how do you know when it's the one that you should marry? And she said, you'll know because you won't want the conversation to end. And we had spent 6 days of not wanting the conversation to end. I proposed to Erin on September 21st, 2007.
Because my dad said you can get married when you both have a college degree. My dad is tough.
He's very tough. I had already bought a ring at that point, and I was in town to get the ring and to get permission. And Erin didn't know I was there. And when I walked into his clinic, he was a physical therapist. I walk in and I say, hey, Dr. Phil, I've been in love with Erin for a long time, and I'll always take care of her. And I'd like to ask her. And he's sitting there smiling. He's leaning back. He's so excited. And I said, I'd like to ask her to marry me this Monday. And he went. The joy drained out of his face, and he sat up and he said, "Say that again." And I'm like, What did I say wrong? I did the whole thing. And he says, no,
My stomach hurts hearing this.
I can feel tears welling up. I'm like panicking. And he says, now just be quiet for a second. You want to marry Erin on Monday? And I said, no, sir. No, I want to ask her on Monday. So now I've got like a week to pull this off. We loved square books. I had made a handmade book.
I was in book making at Ole Miss in the printmaking classes.
And
he had been watching me making books.
So I made this little book that told this story of this weird couple that hit it off and fell in love so fast. And then it said, come upstairs to the balcony for the rest of the story.
I was so excited. He had flowers in jars everywhere and pictures of us hanging up everywhere. And I walked down there to him, and he leaned down to me and was whispering just where I could hear him. And he said, you know how much I love you, and I'll always take care of you. And in the words of James Raspberry, which is my grandfather, he said, I got something for you. That's how he proposed to my grandmother. He just pulled out the ring box. And
he slid it across the table. He said,
I got something for you. You were much more romantic than my grandfather was. And then he took a knee.
We both cried.
So much.
I whispered because I couldn't say it out loud.
Without crying.
And she started crying immediately.
This was huge for a lot of reasons. He couldn't afford a ring, and he had been saving for like the entire 2 years we knew each other. I love my ring. Our actual wedding was November 22nd, 2008.
The most beautiful thing about our wedding is my parents are both ministers, and Erin planned it with my dad, the ceremony. He
did our marriage counseling before, and that was wonderful. He gave us both these like questionnaires and made us go apart from each other for 2 hours and write down your most honest answers to these questions.
The culmination of it was that he said that Erin always wanted us to be together, and that I always wanted us to get along.
Those are the most important things for us.
I started crying immediately when she walked in the room for the ceremony.
It was really good.
It was a good wedding.
I found out I was pregnant with Helen on Mother's Day. And that day when I woke up, I didn't even think about that it was Mother's Day. I just felt like I'm going to take a test because I feel different. And I found out I was a mother. It was like I had made it. I wanted to become a mother, but I was also terrified of it. There was so much relief and so much joy.
I was asleep, and she woke me up shoving a pregnancy test in my face. And I was so excited.
He immediately started drawing her crib, what he wanted to build.
But they had no idea, is this going to be a boy or a girl? And it was Helen.
And then how I knew it was time to have another baby was
at your grandmother's funeral.
My grandmother died during COVID. We were so close. I loved her so dearly. She passed away in May of 2020. We had to have one of those the whole funeral outdoors and only immediate family. And my brother and my cousin and I are the only grandchildren. And we were standing back watching our two dads. And it was the two of them standing beside each other at her grave. And they're so different. My dad and his brother, they're so different. But in that moment,
they had each other.
A couple days later, I was folding laundry in the dining room where we had a changing table. And there was no changing table anymore. I was able to fold the laundry there. And that made me, Helen was upstairs asleep. We had a portrait done of her when she turned 2, and it was hanging on the wall in the dining room. And I looked at it and I felt like I was going to cry because I thought about upstairs there's 2 rooms, and one of them will just be empty across from Helen. No one to stand beside her when it's us at the cemetery. And I just felt so heartbroken by that thought. And I was like, I think we need to have another baby. And I want Helen to have a best friend her whole life.
And so when Erin told me that, I told her, I was like, absolutely, whenever. Right now. Let's go. And they are photocopies of each other. They look exactly the same at every age of their life, and they are very different personalities.
So different.
Helen is an introvert.
And May is an extrovert.
I have witnessed Helen, though, wanting to meet someone and being nervous and shy about it, and she'll walk over.
And her 3-year-old sister will go
she'll
break
walk
the
over
ice.
and she'll whisper into May's ear, and then May walks over and introduces herself and then says, "This is my sister, Helen." And it's beautiful. I think Erin's love language is quality time. We just like being together. Yeah.
He always thinks about what would just delight me and the girls without us asking for it. Like, we can't just have dinner. We're going to have dinner outside. We're going to light a candle that smells like summertime, and we're going to listen to Sam Cooke, and it's going to be like it. Everything has to be an experience. I don't know. What is that love language? That you want everyone to have a good time and feel special.
I don't know.
If they're in your presence, you want them to feel special and good. That's your love language.
After all these years, the thing that I love most about you is your imagination.
After all these years, the thing that I love most about you is your generosity. Are we in therapy right now? Is that what we've done? You want me to pick one word to describe our relationship. I have a word. I think it every day, all the time. Every night when I lay down beside you and I put my head right there. Safe.
I was going to say supported.
He would never break my heart. He would never do anything to upset me or hurt me or safe.